Good morning, my fellow Americans. Throughout the past week, there has been unmistakable evidence of the fear and uncertainty throughout the world regarding December 21st, 2012. Let me just say that as a member of Canfield High School and as a member of the human race, I will see you on December 22nd, 2012. But for those who are worried and pessimistic about what will happen, I have assembled here some outdoor supplies and survival stuff that you should all have for your own personal emergency kit. Let me first explain the outdoor essentials. Sleeping bag, extra clothing, flashlight, water, poncho, rope, first aid, and food. And also toilet paper. Don't leave home without that. There's also other stuff that you should have in your kit, such as a pocket knife with many multi-tools. You never know what you'll use it for, from a screwdriver to a saw to a hose clamp. It's all on here. Also, you want to have a mirror. Say if you're stranded in the wilderness or somewhere and you have to signal a plane. You shine this at the light and you try to signal a plane this way. What the goal is, what you want to do is you want to line it up so you get the reflection on your fingers. So that's how you know that you can angle it and position it. Also, you want to have extra batteries for your flashlight or for your solar stuff. Now, when it comes to food, the best bet you could have is dehydrated food or food that doesn't have sodium in it, because it'll make you more thirsty and you would exhaust your supplies of water. The other thing that would be a good thing to have in any emergency kit is the emergency blanket. Now, the good thing about this is that it's metallic, it's shiny silver, and in situations if you are ever cold and stuff, this fabric would keep you warm. This stuff was designed by NASA astronauts during the space age, and it works wonders for the wilderness. Another outdoor essential that is important for everybody to have is duct tape. The expression has been used many times in my house. I could fix anything. Honey, where's the duct tape? It's right here, Dad. Another important thing that you must have is garbage bags. These black garbage bags could have a variety of uses, from being extra ponchos to making a tube tent. With this rope right here and these two combinations, anything is possible. Specific skills that we must first explain that you must have very good knowledge of if you are to survive is first aid. I suggest you get your hands on any Red Cross first aid manual, that covers anything from poison ivy to heat stroke to radiation burns from a nuclear blast. Over here you will see that I have two first aid kits. I have my own personal first aid kit that has small bandages and ointments and a variety of other things for small accidents. And I also keep 50 cents in here in case I ever had to make emergency phone calls. It seems obsolete in this day of age for when we have cell phones, but just remember, in the event of any disaster situation, the phone lines will be used up for exclusive calls for government agencies. And also, depending on the situation, your cell phone may not always get you out of situations. Another thing that you must have if you're with a group of people is a large, first aid kit. This has larger bandages, gloves, stuff for CPR, tweezers, and other medications. You can never go wrong with a good bottle of aspirin. I have been out in the field many times where, we get sprains and sores and cuts and stuff, and this stuff has saved the day many of times. The one important necessity that you must never leave home without is water, and especially in disaster situations, it will become the new gold, the new oil on the face of the planet. Wars will one day be fought about water because it is such a vital resource. But from my personal experience in outdoor and disaster situations, we were required to drink 8 of these in a day. 32 ounces may seem like a lot, but really it's not for your survival. Now the question is, if I'm caught up in a disaster, say like 2012, how can I obtain water? Well, let me tell you, there are multiple methods. Some methods include, taking purification tablets, putting it in your water supply to cleanse it for a half hour's time. Or there's another popular method called the vaporizer effect, in which you would pour a lot of water into a container like this, preferably metal, and you heat it up over a stove or a fire, and you take a cup and you tie it to your cover, and what would happen is, the water vapors would purify out, and you'd have purified water. Another method is called the solar still, which is pretty much the same thing as this, only you dig a hole in the ground and you let the sun's rays, bring up the vapor from water. Now, in addition to water, another vital, necessity is food. Now, the only downfall of the canned goods like this is that, they're heavy. But there's a variety of, non-perishable foods that are dehydrated that you add water to and stuff. And, they're pretty good. They're high on calories, but they'll give you a lot of energy for, on-the-go situations. Also, another thing you want to eat is beans, because there's a lot of protein on it. Now, beans, they get a negative stigma, and I think you know why. But take my word for it. They're very beneficial in energy, and they will help you out to get you through whatever, storm you find yourself caught up in. Another issue that I'd like to talk to you about is knots. The ability to tie stuff to bigger stuff so you have all your resources together. In the event of apocalyptic scenarios, the knot will be a very essential building tool to build figures out of trees, lumber, wood. And think of it this way. Our pioneer fathers who conquered this land called America, they used these skills to forge a new home in the wilderness. Today we will examine several important knots for survival. Our first knot is called the timber hitch. Now, pretend this water bottle is a log or a heavy object. It's a simple knot that can be tied to drag objects. Now, how did we do that? Let me show you. We make 3 loops, and we take this part of the rope and we tie it through the bigger loop. Another important knot that you all should know is a life-saving knot. It's called the bowline. It's very simple. Make a loop, take the rabbit, go up through the ground, come around the tree, go back down through the hole, and pull tight. This is the bowline. If ever someone falls down a ravine or something, this is a life-saving knot. It has been used many times throughout man's history, and it could be used for a lot of other things. Another knot, say if you had 2 ropes that you had to form together. It's a simple knot. It's called the square knot. It's also the official knot or symbol of a Boy Scout. And for these disaster situations, their skills would be knowledge in this new world. But this right here is a square knot. Finally, today, let me tell you about our final point. We examined first aid, we examined knots, food and water, but above all, the most important thing is shelter. If civilization as we knew it was destroyed, where would we go? Where would we live? How would we interact with one another? Well, it's simple. FEMA recommends that we locate emergency shelters within our situation. Right here I have a book called Are You Ready? It's FEMA's Guide for Emergency Preparedness. It gives suggestions for hardened earth shelters to fallout shelters from the Cold War. For specific locations on emergency sheltering, please see your local emergency management agency or Red Cross for more details. But it's always good to have an evacuation plan in the event of a disaster. Right here I have a floor plan of my household and where we would have a meeting place across the street. This is a light pole, where we would go. But when it comes to shelters, it's always a good idea to have these emergency numbers on hand. Now, from wherever you live, these numbers may vary, from the police force to the fire companies to the doctors and etc. But one universal number in this country is 911. Know that number. As far as shelters go, you could be out in the wilderness stranded. You could be in the desert. You could be in the jungles. You could be any number of places. But it's always good to have some plan in action. Look for natural places. Trees, for example. Their leaves provide cover where you could, stay out after and protect yourselves from such storms and other natural disasters. Other natural places in our environment are caves and holes in the ground, which also may provide good cover for disastrous situations. But above all things, be on the lookout for a shelter. As long as it offers protection, keeps you safe, and it acts as a place where you can store your stuff, you're set. Good luck to you, and may God bless the human race.